your blood sugar might be dropping while you sleep, slowly, quietly, without any clear signal, without waking you up or making you feel anything unusual. And that drop could be the exact reason you wake up with higher numbers in the morning. Numbers that feel confusing, that don't match your routine, that make it seem like your body is working against you. And the reason this is so frustrating is because almost no one realizes this pattern is happening or understands that a nighttime drop can actually trigger a morning spike, which is why so many people spend years trying to fix the wrong problem. You go to sleep thinking your blood sugar is stable, believing that your efforts during the day should lead to predictable results, expecting that your fasting glucose will reflect your discipline and consistency. And then morning comes. You check your number, and it feels completely disconnected from everything you did. It feels random, like there is no clear cause. But the truth is that it is not random at all. It is the final result of a sequence that started hours earlier. And that sequence begins with a drop, not a rise. During the night, your body does not simply shut down. It becomes highly active in very specific ways, regulating hormones, adjusting energy distribution, and maintaining stability for vital systems, especially for your brain, which depends on a constant and reliable supply of glucose even while you are asleep. And to keep that stability, your body is constantly monitoring blood sugar levels, making small adjustments, continuously deciding whether to release or conserve energy. As the body becomes less flexible with age, less responsive, and less precise in its regulation, your blood sugar can begin to drift downward during the night. Sometimes slowly, sometimes in small fluctuations, sometimes just enough to cross a threshold that your body interprets as a potential risk. And that is where everything changes. Because your body is not designed to tolerate low glucose for long. Even mild drops can trigger a response. Even subtle changes can activate a cascade of internal reactions designed to protect you. The moment that drop is detected, even if you are completely unaware of it, your system shifts into a defensive mode. Hormones begin to rise. Signals move through your nervous system. Your liver receives instructions to release stored glucose back into your bloodstream. And this process is not optional. It is automatic. It is built into your biology as a survival mechanism designed to ensure that your brain always has access to energy. At first, everything about this response is normal, functioning exactly as it should. Your body detects a drop and corrects it, bringing glucose back into a stable range. The problem is not the existence of this response, but what happens next in a system no longer perfectly regulated. When insulin sensitivity is reduced, cells are slower to respond, and your metabolic system becomes less precise. That same protective response can become exaggerated. Instead of correcting the drop and stopping, your body continues pushing, releasing glucose. It amplifies the response beyond what is necessary. What was supposed to be a small adjustment turns into an overcorrection, a reaction that goes too far, a response that creates a spike instead of stability. This is where the pattern becomes visible, not during the night, not when the drop happens, but hours later, when you wake up and see the result. Timing plays a critical role in this entire process. This sequence often overlaps with another natural shift in your body during the early morning hours. A shift that prepares you to wake up, to become alert, to transition from rest to activity. This shift involves the gradual rise of hormones like cortisol, which signal your body to release glucose as part of your normal wake-up process, increasing energy availability so you can start your day. Now, you have two powerful forces acting at the same time. Your body reacting to a drop that happened during the night, and your natural wake-up hormones increasing as morning approaches, both pushing glucose upward, reinforcing each other, amplifying the effect. By the time you open your eyes, what you see is not the beginning of the problem. It is the end of a chain reaction that unfolded silently while you were asleep. This is why morning blood sugar can feel so confusing. Because it appears disconnected from your actions, it seems to happen without a clear cause. It looks like something went wrong during the night in a simple, linear way. But the reality is much more complex. It is not a straight line. It is a sequence. A drop followed by a reaction, followed by an overcorrection, combined with a natural hormonal rise, all stacking together into a single number that you see the moment you wake up. And this is also why focusing only on what you ate is often not enough to explain what is happening. Because the issue is not just intake, it is regulation. It is how your body behaves in the absence of food, how it manages energy when you are not eating, how it maintains balance during the night, and how it reacts when that balance shifts even slightly. Some people experience subtle signs of this process without realizing what they mean. Brief awakenings in the middle of the night that seem insignificant, moments of restlessness that pass quickly, a sudden feeling of alertness that disappears just as fast, or even waking up for no clear reason. These moments may feel random, but they reflect where your body detected a drop and initiated its response. A silent shift that most people never connect to what they see the next morning. Other people experience nothing at all. They sleep through the entire process without interruption, without awareness, without any obvious signal that something changed internally. But the physiology still unfolds the same way. The drop happens, the response is triggered. The correction the result appears hours later in the form of elevated morning blood sugar, creating a pattern that feels disconnected simply because you never witnessed the beginning of it. This is why that number you see in the morning should never be interpreted in isolation. It does not tell the full story. It does not show you what happened during the night. It does not reveal the drop that triggered the response. It only shows the final outcome. Reacting only to that number without understanding the sequence can lead to confusion and frustration, and decisions that do not address the real pattern that is actually driving those results. Morning blood sugar is not just a measurement. It is a signal, a summary of how your body managed energy, hormones, and stability while you were asleep. When that system becomes less controlled, less precise, and more reactive, the patterns become more exaggerated, more noticeable, and often more difficult to interpret, especially when you're only looking at the final number, without understanding the layers beneath it. So instead of asking only why your blood sugar is high when you wake up, the more useful question becomes, what happened before that moment? What sequence led to that result? What triggered the reaction that you are now seeing? Because once you begin to see morning blood sugar as the final step of a nighttime process, rather than an isolated event, everything starts to make more sense in a way that completely changes how you interpret your numbers. You begin to understand that the spike is not random. It is not disconnected. It is not a failure of your effort. It is a response. And more specifically, it is often a response to a drop that you never saw. A shift that happened silently, a signal that triggered a chain reaction inside your body, leading to the number you see when you wake up. And that realization alone can completely change your thinking, because now you are no longer reacting blindly to a number on a screen. You are recognizing a pattern, a cause and effect sequence that unfolds during the night, shaping what you experience in the morning. And once you start to see that pattern clearly, you also realize that what happens while you sleep may be far more important than anything you do during the day when it comes to understanding your morning blood sugar. And the more you ignore that nighttime sequence, the more confusing your mornings will continue to feel. Because you will always be looking at the result without seeing the cause, trying to fix the outcome, without understanding the process that created it. Which is why so many people feel stuck, repeating the same patterns without ever realizing where the real shift is happening. But once you begin to connect these dots, once you start to see the relationship between a nighttime drop and a morning spike, once you recognize that your body is not working against you, but actually responding exactly the way it was designed to, even if that response is no longer perfectly regulated, everything begins to change. Not because the system suddenly becomes perfect, but because your understanding becomes clearer. And when your understanding becomes clearer, your decisions become more aligned, your interpretation becomes more accurate, and your ability to recognize patterns improves in a way that allows you to stop reacting emotionally to isolated numbers and start observing what your body is actually doing over time. So the next time you wake up, check your number and feel confused by what you see. Remember that your morning blood sugar is not just a number, it is the final result of a sequence. That happened while you were asleep, a sequence that in many cases started with a drop that you never felt, continued with a response you never noticed, and ended with a number that you are now trying to interpret. And that means the real question is no longer just why your blood sugar is high when you wake up, but what exactly happened hours before you even opened your eyes.